New England is the smallest of the deregulated power markets in the US. Despite its size, we see many of the nation's boldest decarbonization targets in the region, including a target of 13 gigawatts of offshore wind and net zero targets from all states except New Hampshire. The region has shut all but one of its coal-fired power stations, but remains highly dependent on natural gas imported via LNG into Massachusetts, or from the rest of the country across a poorly connected low-capacity pipeline network. Cold winters and tight supplies often mean that customers pay significant premiums over the rest of the country for gas. Gas supply warnings are also common. Earlier this year, governors from all New England states appealed to the Secretary of Energy to suspend the Jones Act to allow for non-US flagged ships to transport LNG between US terminals. On the power side, gas price spikes can feed into power prices, creating volatility and security of supply concerns. Policymakers have deployed various initiatives targeting security of supply in recent years, such as performance incentives for dual fuel generators. We see this reliance on gas continuing in our long-term modelling, but we also see an aggressive shift towards renewables, underpinned by the Inflation Reduction Act and individual state policy initiatives, such as Massachusetts' SMART program. This will create increased incentives for flexibility, either in the form of batteries and demand-side response, or for new transmission lines to neighbouring markets in the US or Canada, though public approval of recent projects has been difficult to get. In the very near term, all eyes are on the situation unfolding between a few key offshore wind projects and policymakers in Massachusetts. The developers of the offshore wind projects Commonwealth Wind and Mayflower Wind have stated that global inflationary pressures, coupled with the recent rise in interest rates, means that their projects are no longer viable at previously agreed PPA prices, and are seeking to renegotiate their PPAs with state electricity providers. However, the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities is not allowing for this, which has created a temporary stalemate situation until someone blinks. Clearly, there is a case for policymakers and industry to review their contract design and award processes, which were largely designed around the last decade of low inflation and interest rates. Offshore project developers will be watching closely, as most, if not all, will be experiencing similar commercial tensions under the contract conditions that have been struck in recent years across the eastern seaboard.